You know how games lately just feel off? Maybe you've stumbled upon a game where characters have 6 fingers, NPCs spit out awkward robotic dialogue, or the artwork just looks suspiciously generic, almost as if it was churned out by a lazy computer algorithm. Well, here's the bad news. You're probably right. Artificial intelligence isn't just some distant futuristic threat to game development. It's already here, and it's causing a lot of controversy. Today, we'll look at why AI-generated content is quickly becoming one of gaming's biggest debates. We're talking about artists losing their jobs, gamers being fed up with low-quality AI slop, and how the very authenticity that makes games special might be at stake. So buckle up, because things are about to get interesting. Imagine spending years mastering digital art, perfecting how to draw characters and environments, only to have your job snatched by an AI that generates art in seconds. Well, unfortunately, that's exactly what's happening right now, especially in countries like China, where AI-generated artwork has rapidly replaced human artists. Take the illustrator Amber Yu, for example, who used to earn around $1,000 per commission. Today, she's paid about 1/10 of that, meaning about $100 to touch up art that an AI spat out. Just fixing odd faces, weird fingers, blurry backgrounds, etc. Her entire career has essentially changed from being creative to fixing what everyone else is making. And by everyone else, we're not even talking about people, they're just generating stuff through prompts. Now, you could argue that it could be worse. She's still earning money, she's just not making that much anymore. But imagine how it feels too. You get no creative outlet, you're just fixing whatever someone else made. It's hard not to feel sorry for these people. Entire illustration teams have been disbanded because game studios decide it's cheaper to use AI instead. But it's not just visual artists getting burned. Voice actors are also on pretty high alert, especially after the actors union SAG-AFTRA went on strike. Their biggest fear is studios using AI to replace their voices without paying fairly, or even asking permission. Imagine your favorite character from a beloved game suddenly sounding flat and lifeless because some company executive decided to save money by using a voice clone. That is just not okay at all, and not exactly the immersive experience we signed up for either. And what about the writers? Well, Ubisoft recently made waves by introducing an AI tool called Ghostwriter. It's essentially a tool that writes generic NPC dialogue so that human writers can focus on quote-unquote bigger storytelling tasks. Like, it sounds reasonable at first, but there is a catch here. Writing these small bits of dialogue is exactly how junior writers get their foot in the door. With AI replacing these entry-level tasks, young creators might find themselves without an opportunity to break into the industry at all. Suddenly, AI doesn't just seem like a convenient helper, it looks like a job-stealing machine. And with these tools often being quicker and cheaper than hiring someone, you can quickly start to see why they would opt for that instead, and that this can quickly spiral way out of control. Have you ever heard of AI slop? If not, let me ruin your day real quick. So, AI slop refers to the flood of lazy AI-generated content that's quickly clogging platforms like Steam and Nintendo's eShop. There is of course another aspect of this where YouTube also has seen an insane increase in AI-created videos. A popular term for this is YouTube automation, but that's a whole nother rabbit hole that I'm not gonna dive into in this video, but just keep in mind that it does exist. These AI-created games look suspiciously similar. Generic puzzle games with bizarrely drawn characters, cheap-looking textures, and almost no original ideas. Gamers aren't happy, and fortunately, they are starting to push back. Communities have begun organizing to identify and boycott games filled with AI-generated assets. Steam, for example, has even started banning games that rely heavily on AI-generated art and writing, not just because of copyright concerns, but just because players straight up hate them. So, AI-generated content might be cheap to produce, but it often looks terrible. Think of the infamous Call of Duty fiasco. Activision came under fire after players spotted a promotional image featuring a zombie Santa with 6 fingers, an obvious sign of sloppy AI-generated artwork. After massive backlash online, Activision reluctantly admitted that they'd used AI tools. This controversy wasn't just embarrassing, it damaged player trust and called the authenticity of a billion-dollar franchise into question. Alright, so let's talk about authenticity and why it's so important in gaming. The reason it's so important is because games aren't just products, they're experiences crafted by passionate people, meant to immerse players in believable worlds and compelling stories. But when AI steps into these creative roles, players immediately sense something's off. Games start to lose their personality, their soul, and their uniqueness. A great early example of this is the game High on Life, created by Squanch Games and Justin Roiland, the voice actor who played Rick and Morty. So the studio admitted to using AI-generated art and voice acting for minor in-game details. Sure, it was minor, but the gaming community's reaction was mixed at best. Some people shrugged it off, yeah, but others felt that using AI even for minor roles robbed human artists and voice actors of valuable jobs. Players started asking tough questions. Are games becoming just another manufactured product? If a game like High on Life uses AI openly, how many other studios are quietly doing the same? Now look, we're not just concerned about jobs. We're worried about the human element that we love so much is disappearing. If AI-generated art and writing become standard, games risk becoming predictable, generic, and worst of all, just forgettable. Now, we need to talk about other aspects of AI too, because it's not just all bad news. Let's take procedural generation as an example, a very popular type of AI that's been used to create endless game worlds. This technology has already delivered incredible experiences. Take games like Minecraft, Valheim, or No Man's Sky. These games have captured millions of players because AI helps create infinite worlds to explore, each unique and exciting. It's been used as a great tool and a great foundation. However, there is a fine line between good procedural generation and just lazy AI slop. Good procedural generation still requires human guidance, vision, and creativity. When game developers rely solely on algorithms without proper care, the result is usually empty, repetitive worlds lacking depth and purpose. Early No Man's Sky is a perfect example of this. Endless worlds, but nothing to explore. You can quickly notice when a game's environment or characters feel random and lifeless. Instead of exploring exciting worlds, you're stuck wandering boring, predictable landscapes that offer nothing meaningful. Starfield is also a very recent example that was just plain disappointing. At the surface, the game looks huge and unique, but when you land on the quote-unquote different planets, you quickly notice that most of them are just filled with generic outposts and meaningless terrain. This is a perfect example of how a developer built a skeleton with AI, but never actually filled out the details. The potential is wasted by boring and generic content. Simply put, AI can enhance games when developers carefully control it, but if it's overused or mismanaged, it quickly turns gaming experiences hollow and repetitive. On the surface, it makes sense why companies love AI. It's faster, cheaper, and requires fewer employees. But there is a hidden cost to this automation that companies often overlook. By replacing creative roles with AI, companies don't just sacrifice artistic quality, they're also killing entry-level opportunities in the industry. If you think about it, there's a lot of small tasks in a game company that now is being handled by AI, like minor art assets, background voices, or simple writing tasks. They used to be perfect entry points for aspiring developers, artists, or voice actors. Without these roles, future talent struggles to gain experience. That means fewer skilled creators down the road, leading to an industry that stagnates creatively. The irony here is that short-term savings could result in long-term damage to the gaming industry, hurting not only creators, but also the companies themselves when players inevitably lose interest. I honestly think that a big part of this is that it's not obvious at the start. It doesn't look like you're creating problems for the future, but years down the line, you'll get to a point where you realize that none of your employees actually knows how to make a game, because no one has experience in it anymore. It's all being handled by AI and people pushing buttons. This is obviously a very dystopian take, but imagine how hard it is to bounce back after something like that. And if game companies keep pushing this aggressive usage of AI, then it's a real possibility down the line. Ultimately, AI isn't going anywhere. It's going to become a permanent tool in the game developer's toolbox. The real question here isn't whether we'll use AI, but how we use it. The most successful approach is a balance between automation and human creativity. AI should handle repetitive, boring tasks that humans find tedious, like generating basic level layouts or testing countless gameplay scenarios. In turn, Human developers, artists, and writers should focus their energy on creative, meaningful tasks, building unforgettable characters, rich stories, and beautiful worlds. I like to think of it as AI making the skeleton, a foundation, with humans filling in the details. If a human doesn't put effort into the skeleton, you get games like Starfield and the many dead and boring planets. Imagine how easy it would be for a human to just, have a vision of a level layout, describe it, and then have it be generated almost instantly. That developer could look at it, test it, and maybe find out that, nah, this didn't work, let's try something else. It's gonna save that developer a huge amount of time. Again, the developer has a great tool to test something quickly, and this is, in my opinion, the best way that AI can be used, creating foundations and prototypes. Now, finding this balance is not going to be easy, especially with financial pressures tempting studios to automate more and more, but striking the right mix is crucial. It's what ensures games remain engaging, innovative, and above all, authentic experiences that players can truly connect with. AI's integration into game development is inevitable, but the controversies we've discussed in this video highlight crucial decisions the industry must make. If game companies use AI responsibly as a helpful tool to empower creators instead of automating everything, then gamers and developers alike have nothing to fear. But if studios continue this trend of cutting corners, replacing talent with automated shortcuts, games will lose their soul, their humanity, and ultimately their players. So what do you think? Should AI play a significant role in gaming, or should we be cautious about how much we rely on technology to replace human creativity? Please drop down your opinions in the comments. I really want to discuss this further with you. And most of all, thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate every single one of you commenting, liking, subscribing, and I'm gonna say this every time. I love making these videos and sharing my passion with you guys. If you like what I'm making, please consider subscribing. And with that, I'm Rolf, and I hope you have an amazing day.